Okay, we are live and in person at the Westmount Studios, downtown Thornhill. We have, besides the teacher, 4 masked students. And on Zoom, we've got 2.5. 2.5. We have Janet and Nicole, and Chaya is desperately trying to get in. But she's struggling. She's trying. It's just not to get all the way from Florida. You know, there's a lot of turbulence. I don't know. It just says connecting. I wonder if there's anything I could do to help her. I don't know. Allow to rename, put in, remove. No, I don't want to remove. You can see her hand moving around. All right, we got to start. We have to start. We are going to start a new book of the Torah this week. And I hope you all know how to pronounce the word. We'll find out soon enough. All right. But before we start the first PASUK, let's give you a little always background. And let's go back. Let's go back to Parshas Vayigash. When Yaakov was leaving Canaan and going to Egypt. So it says, these are the names of the Israelites, Yaakov and his descendants who came to Egypt. Yaakov's firstborn, Reuven, Reuven's sons, Enoch, Palu, Hezron, and Carmi, etc., 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 etc. It's 8 to 27, I should say. And then at the end, and Yosef's sons who were born to him in Egypt were 2 in number. Thus, the total of Jacob's household who came to Egypt was 70 persons. Torah gives a full listing of the people who went down to Egypt. That was 2 weeks ago. Today we have the very first Parsha, and the truth is, the words are easy. The only thing I will help you with is that I will help you with the root letters. And now, Baruch Hashem, Hashem is so kind to me. He's letting me, I can now write. And I got a good pad over here. Watch this. Boom. Wow. That's the shoresh of this PASUK. That's the source of this PASUK. And I'll even tell you the English. The shoresh bow is to come. You can do. Okay, yeah, I could do now. Oh, I didn't want to do that.
But it was good though.
Okay, anyway, let's just see if we can. Okay, that's the root. Okay, now, after this pasuk is the next psukim. Right after this pasuk says, Reuven, Shimon, Levi, Yehuda, Yisachar, Zvulun, Binyamin, Dan and Naphtali, Gad and Asher. The total of persons that were of Yaakov's issue came to 70. Joseph being already in Egypt. Then it tells us Joseph died and all his brothers and all that generation. And that's the first 6 psukim, except for the first one that I've left not explained to you. The opening pasuk. Okay, so now, here's the questions. It's only 4, 6, 8, 11 words, and they're all easy words. But I want you to consider the following questions. And this is going to be your questions to see if you understand. Question 1, what does this word mean exactly? Exactly. Question 2, what does this word mean exactly? Now, question 3, what is the difficulty of using this word in the PASUK? There's a problem with that. Question 4, what is difficult with this word? There's something wrong about this word. Question 5, what is difficult about the entire PASUK? Question 6, what is the main point of this PASUK? What's it coming to teach us? Question 7, why do you think that the name of the Parsha is this word? And you can't just say because it's one of the first words in the Parsha. That's a cop-out answer.
Rabbi, I have a funny feeling the answer, one of these questions, you're gonna answer all of them.
Well, you could have a funny feeling all you like.
We're gonna be connected.
As long as you can come up with some answers, that's fine. Okay, now there's also, if you have lots of time, that you practice. Oh, there's Chaya with her chavrusa. Okay, now we can see what's going on here. All right, that's good. All right. Chaya, say something if we can hear you. Try to. Well, you don't have a mic. You don't. You got to get audio when you come in, dear. I have you in as without any audio. I have no idea if you're hearing a word I'm saying, but just in case, you don't have any audio. Okay. Anyway, then there's an amazing Rashi over here that after you got the first, it's a hard, words are hard. And then I brought the rest of the Rashi there, which is the rest of the Rashi. Maybe you'll figure out how Rashi addresses one of the issues. Anyway, that's the main point. Any questions before we start? No questions before we start. Okay, and I see that Chaya is having lots of technical problems. Nicole's making me hungry. It looks like she's enjoying what she's eating. I can't tell what it is. Is that a potato chip? Doritos?
Sobeys fries.
Sobeys fries. Whoa. Okay, yeah.
Compliments of her mother.
It's after her mother. Okay. Sobeys fries. Okay, that's good. All right. Let me stop the share and stop and pause the record for a minute. Somebody's got to remind me to.
Welcome to the class.
Okay. Okay, we're sharing the screen now. Let's pop this up to the top. That's good. Let's move this over. Okay, let us continue now with the PASUK. Let's review the PASUK. Okay, let's have somebody from Zoomland do the PASUK, because for some reason, when somebody from Zoomland reads it, it's loud enough for the people here to hear it. But when somebody from here reads it, the Zoomers are having trouble hearing it. So thank you, Janet, for volunteering. And she is going to read the PASUK to perfection.
No. Ve'elei Shemos b'nei Yisrael va'im Mitzrayima es Yaakov ish uveso bayu.
Okay, that's pretty good for a beginner, for someone who wasn't in our class. Okay, so what's the first line mean? Janet, you're still
And
on the
these are
hook.
the names of the children. Yeah, and these are the names of the children of Israel.
Correct, 100% correct. And these are the names of the children of Israel. Keep going. Aboy Mitzrayma. Go for it, Janet. I think she.
In English now, still?
Yeah, just say it in English. What does it mean?
So coming to Egypt,
Coming to Egypt. Correct. Coming. It's the present tense. Present.
coming to Egypt.
And these are the names of the sons of Israel who were coming to Egypt. Go ahead, dear Janet. You're on a roll. Next line. Es Yaakov.
With Jacob, with Yaakov,
With Yaakov.
with
Es-
Yaakov,
With. Yes, you're going great. 3 for 3. Go for the sweep. Ish. I don't know. Does it look like she's frozen?
I don't know. She's thinking.
I don't know. I think Janet looks like she froze. I don't know what happened.
Yeah, I have bad internet tonight.
Oh, you don't have good.
Here.
Okay.
No,
Can
here.
you get the last line in?
A man and his household came.
Excellent. A man and his household came. Bingo. Now, let me just add a few small touches, if you don't mind. Now, look how I spelled the name of the Parsha in English. Why did I put, I could have spelled it like this. Watch. Because then it would be Shemos. 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 But I didn't do that. I spelled it Shemos.
Oh.
Now, you weren't with us when we learned this rule. You see these little 2 dots over here? 2 dots in the beginning of a PASUK, you stress the sound of the 2 dots, which is So, therefore, you pronounce it Shemos, not Shmos. Shmos is incorrect, just like Shema is incorrect. It's Shema. We should know what the second book of the Torah, how it's pronounced. Shemos. Okay? Ve'ele Shemos b'nei Yisrael. Okay, that was just a side point. Okay? And of course, we know how to pronounce this word. Jay, how do you pronounce that word?
Yaakov.
Yaakov. Very good. Okay. All right. So tell me, what is this pasuk saying in your own words? What is the first pasuk of this book saying here? Just anybody.
Okay. So these are the names of the children that came with Yaakov. Of Israel that came with Yaakov to Egypt.
These are the names of the children that came to Yaakov of Egypt. Okay, now, let's just go to the questions. Let's go to questions. Okay, first, what does the word habaim mean?
Coming.
So it means coming. Correct. Excellent. What does ba'u mean?
Came.
Came. It could be they came. You want to say they came by itself, it's they came, but in this context of the pasuk, it's came. Okay, does that create any problems in the pasuk for you?
Yeah, because they're coming and they came.
Like, what's the pasuk saying? These are the names of the sons of Yisrael who are coming to Egypt.
Yeah.
With Yaakov, each man came. What's going on? Is it coming or is it came?
Came, but they already
Well, yeah, now is even a better question. Wait, what parsha are we in here? Shemos. Okay. Oh, what happened 2 parshas ago?
They already came.
They already came. So what kind of question would you want to ask?
Why is it coming? Why is it coming?
It doesn't mean anybody.
Why, you know what? Why don't we just start? We should start from? Let's start from here. Joseph died and his brothers and all that generation. You don't even need that.
Yeah, Joseph died also last.
Yeah, we don't need any of these 6 psukim. Let's start with the next. You know what the next pasuk is? A new king came. Vayakom melech chadash. A new king came. That's how we start the book. No.
He never knew anything.
What did we not know of everything that was here? What did we not know that we didn't know in the last book of Bereshit? In these 6 psukim, what piece of information were you given that is new to you? Nothing. So what the world is going on over here? That's what they call in Yiddish, the festakasha. That sounds, that looks like a cross between Italian and Spanish. Festakasha, which it's Yiddish. It's like, that's a real strong question. But if you go to Lakewood and you say, wow, that's a festakasha, they're gonna think, wow, you're a real frummy. Okay? But like, what do we need is all the 6 psukim, just get rid of them. Start from, and a new king got up who didn't know the Jewish people. Well, there was another pasuk that the Jewish people spread out. They did all the same, but that was all in last week's Parsha. So what's going on over here? That's a big problem. Okay, but notwithstanding that, what is the problem with this word?
Shemos.
What's the problem with that word?
It doesn't name anybody.
No, it does right afterwards. Reuven, Shimon, Levi, all these guys.
Yeah, the 70 people who came in, right? The kids of Yaakov.
How about if I did this? I hope I can do this. I hope I don't get messed up here.
You hear me?
Let's see. I'm afraid to do things sometimes that I won't be able to fix it up. But let's just try it. Let's try to. Okay. What's wrong with the pasuk the way it is?
Nothing.
These are the children of Israel.
Am I missing anything?
No.
And guess what?
You also
We're
take
gonna
it
find
out.
out their names anyway right afterwards. Do you follow?
Right.
Like, just now. Let's hope I can bring it back. This is what it makes me problems.
Control V.
I know, not that. That's just the whole thing's cuckoo. Okay, there it's back. But I don't need it. We were fine without it, weren't we? So that's a problem. It does. So these were the names? Well, I know they're going to tell me the names. If it would just say, and these are the children of Israel, when I see the names afterwards. Okay, what else did we add? What is difficult with the word ve'ele?
Same thing. You can just say and then again you can take out the
No, I can't take it all off.
Israel.
What?
The names of
I can't-
children of Israel.
What do you want me to do? Start the pasuk from Bnei Yisrael?
No.
Well, that-
Bnei Israel.
Names of the Israel, that you can't start a pasuk with that words. Oh, what do I need the vav for?
Right. Okay.
What if I did like this? I can't do them both here. What if I just said, Eile B'nai Yisrael? Wouldn't that have been easy? Now, what do we know? Maybe you'll remember from last week, so don't answer. Remember we said there's difference between the word Eile and Ve'ele? Do you remember when we once talked about that? Does anybody remember? Ve'ele HaMishpatim.
No, that's
Oh,
it is continuing. from
And
the-
these.
I know, but so there's a statement of a Rashi says, Eile, when it says Eile, it's coming to not connect to what was before.
Right. Veil is connecting to the past.
Ve'ele is connecting to what was before. But the problem is, what's there connect to? We're starting a brand new book. I'm okay. Good, thank you. It's a brand new book. So what's there to connect to?
And even if
What's-
it's connecting,
What's there to connect to? You're starting a brand new book.
It is getting connected to Bereshit.
I know. But what are we connecting?
And even if it is connecting, it's no benefit because they're talking the same thing again.
And it's saying the same thing again anyway.
Are they being announced of some sort? It came and now they're being announced. They've already entered and now maybe they're being introduced.
What do you mean introduce? We introduced them. We know them for the last 6 weeks.
It's being emphasized from first.
You know, God assumes you didn't forget what was in Sefer Bereshit.
Yeah.
The assumption is that you've been following every week. You know, God isn't right. Oh, for those of you who weren't here, you were on vacation. You know, you were in the Bahamas for the last 4 weeks. Just in case you missed the story, that doesn't work that way. Maybe when I give my classes, I'll catch you up. But God says, I assume you're following every week. Okay, so now we're really stuck, guys. What is the main point of this pasuk?
Counting.
I have no idea. Let's go home.
They're counting.
And why do you think that the name of the Parsha is Shemos? Remember, it's not Shmos. The Torah has no Shmos in it. Just Shemos. Or if you're Sephardi, Shemot. Or if you're a yeshivish guy, Shemois. You don't have to give the class to the kids. I give them the kids class at 12 o'clock. So I've got kids who go to, what do you call it? The cheder, who like to hear Shemos. I got some Israelis who want Shemot. And I got regular in between Eitz Chaim kids, it's Shemos. So I got to say every word 3 times so they understand what I'm saying. Anyway.
Rabbi, I have a thought on this. I think that names.
You got a thought. Let's hear your thoughts,
Here's my
Steve.
thought. Maybe-
Let's go for it. Who knows? You
I
could
think-
strike gold.
You never know. I think name is equivalent to family. It's just an importance of family. Saying that,
Talking about the importance of family.
yeah, Yaakov and all the people, his family, is what's important. That's why it's called Shemos. It's name.
These are the important people. And
More than important, it's our family is important. And passing on to our children is what it's all about. That's what I'm getting out of that.
Well,
Am I close?
interesting idea. Although I don't know where names and family necessarily connect.
Shemos is
There's
name,
names even not in family.
and house is family. House is family. Babu is,
Okay, so what does that have to do with anything?
Each man in his house, that's his
You
family.
give them ideas.
Like I'm the cat's family, so this is my responsibility to pass on my stuff to my children.
Okay,
So yeah,
that's a nice thought. I don't know how that ties into the names exactly.
It's a name.
Okay, yes, go ahead.
I think
If you're giving names, it's a way of counting. It's a type of counting.
Okay, why are we counting anybody? We counted them before.
yeah, but it is showing the importance.
You're right.
Everything is counted. Again
Okay,
and
so
again.
why?
Because they're important people.
Well, you have the.
But we counted them before, didn't we?
it's 70.
This is not the first time we've counted. So let's take a look at Rashi for a minute. This is an important Rashi. Ve'elu Shemos b'nei Yisrael. Rashi is answering this question 5. What is difficult about the entire PASUK? Rashi's coming to answer that. And Rashi says, I'll read it to you. Aleph, Ayin, Pei. Does anybody remember what that stands for?
Alpi.
That's half right. Af al pi,
Alpi, yeah.
nose on mouth. No, that's not what it means.
No,
No, it's not real.
according to.
Even though, af al pi, even though shemina'an, that they were counted b'chayim in their lifetimes, bishmosam by their names, back in Parshas Vayigash,
Ah,
even though they were counted already, we know their names.
it's still counted after they're gone. Ah,
Chazar, the Torah repeats, uminom, and counts them b'misosam after their death.
wow. Like Yaakov, that's never, okay.
After their death, they count them again. Why? Lehodia, to inform you, chibasam, their love that Hashem had for them. Shenim shalu, they are compared lekochavim, to stars. And Rashi, I'll give you the rest of the English. And Hashem does the same thing with stars. Hashem brings them out and brings them in by number and by name when they cease to shine. The PASUK says he brings out their host by number. He calls them all by name. So he's saying, you know why we're mentioning it? Because Hashem loves them. He wants us to know how much he loves them. You know, when you keep counting, you know, when you count money, if you like money, how many times you're counting? Were you ever given a lot of cash once to transport somewhere? Ever have to take some here? Here's some cash. Take it to my son, my daughter, my father. How much is the most cash you ever held in your hands? I once had $50,000 cash in my hands, hundreds. Man, oh man, you know how many times I counted it? From when I left till I came, and how many times I was checking my pocket, looking around. That's still there.
That's not because you love it. It's
Oh, no, because I knew how important it was. If I lose it, man, whoa.
important. Yeah.
Okay, but so how about your kids? How about when you're a counselor? Ever been a counselor in camp?
Yeah.
And you have to take 25 kids somewhere? How many times you count them?
Oh,
Frequently.
I always lose it.
Okay, anyway, so they are compared to stars. That's what makes them special. What do we know about stars? Do stars exist forever?
No.
Relatively forever. No.
Yeah.
Long time, a long time. let's say.
Yeah.
When do they shine?
After sunset.
They're shining every time. Every time.
Day and night.
Yeah,
Yeah, so only because
You
of the
just don't
sunlight.
see them in the day.
Yeah, because of the sunlight is.
You can't see them in the day.
I think he can't.
They're always shining. So the Jewish people, they're always shining. Can't always see it, but they're always shining. Well, that's a nice idea. That's a nice idea. But let's try to take this a bit further over here and really get into the real issues here. There is a rabbinic name for each of the 5 books of the Torah. We know it's called Breshis, Shemos, Vayikra, Bamidbar, Devarim. But for example, Bereshis, the rabbinic name is Genesis. That's where the English came from. The book of creation.
Makes sense.
The book of Shemos is called the book of exile and redemption.
Oh, that's good.
It's the book of exile and redemption.
So why is it called Shemos?
Hang on, man. In other words, just like the first book told us all about creation and how every year we can recreate ourselves. And we follow the pattern of the creation of the first 12 Parshas in Bereshis. We usually start the book of Shemos in the dead of the winter. The dead of the winter. And especially in a COVID winter, it's a real dead winter. I mean, you can't do nothing. You can't go to the garden. You can't do nothing.
Now it actually makes sense.
So the book of Shemos is going to teach us how to deal with the exile and how to get to your redemption. That's what it's all about. The book of exile and redemption. Okay. So now, what would the Torah be doing for us? The Torah would like to give us some guidance in how to survive an exile. Wouldn't that be helpful?
Yeah.
Because just to hear a story, well, long ago, our fathers were in Egypt. Long ago, a wicked king made us slaves. And look at this, miraculously, God took us out of Egypt. Whoop-de-doo. Like, that's nice. It's nice.
No one will remember.
But what do I got to remember that every year for? Okay. So these first 5 or 6 psukim are not here to tell us a story. They are not written to inform us who came to Egypt, because we know that already. So what's it coming to teach us?
How much Hashem
It's
loves us.
teaching us the secret of how to exist in the exile, like the star. The stars, in the daytime, you don't even know they're around. And you think they're gone. They're gone. But at night they come out. So what do we have in these psukim that can tell us the secret to survive in the exile? Because the exile of Egypt is the, what do you call it? The origins of all exiles. And the redemption of that is the origin of all redemptions. Okay. So therefore, let's see what it's trying to tell us. Let's start from the beginning. Now, look at this pasuk from the point of teaching us how to survive in the exile. So Steve was a little bit on the right track over here.
I missed the love part.
What do you know? There's a famous midrash that says in the merit of a few things, the Jewish people were redeemed. Not every Jew got out, but certain ones did, because they did not change certain things. What did they not change? They did not change their names.
Language.
They did not change their language. They did not change their their dress,
They're faith.
they were not immoral. Okay. Okay. So how can we survive? The Jewish people go down, they're surrounded by millions of people, millions of Egyptians. Okay, so what's the first secret of not being swallowed up? Is don't change your name. In Egypt, it's Mahmoud. It's Paro. It ain't Yaakov, Reuven, Shimon. Those are not Egyptian names at all. Ve'ele, the Vav is connecting us, as you'll see in a minute why, what it's connecting to. The first key is the Shemos, the names. Because even though they're in Egypt, they still had these nice Jewish names. Reuven, Shimon, Levi, Yehuda, Issachar, Zebulun. This is the key to survival. If there were no Jewish names, the game's over. So we got to have a Jewish name like Yaakov, Chanuch, Shlomo, Chaim Huna. What is it you got again? Chaim Huna? Chaim. Okay. So Sharon. All right. Janet, what's your Hebrew name?
Udella Lipsha.
Udella?
Yes.
Udella. That's a nice Yiddish name.
Yes.
Sue, what's your Jewish name?
Shoshana Rachel.
Shoshana. Whoa. And Nicole?
Nechama Edel.
Nechama. Nechama. And Goldie, who's behind the black screen.
Helene, it's Chana.
What that? Hannah?
Chana, Rabbi.
Hannah. Okay, so maybe by next week, instead, maybe I'll see those names on the screen in front of you. Maybe that'll be your project. If you want, that'll be nice. But anyway, so that's the key number one. Key number one. Remember, obviously, one way to not assimilate is by doing mitzvahs, right? But we didn't have any mitzvahs yet. Not really. So this is the first key. The key to survival is Ve'ele Shemos B'nai Yisrael. These are the names. And now we're going to tell you, these are the names they had. Now the connection, what's the connection to last week's, to the before? Because before they were going down to Egypt. Now, and we know all about how they were down in Egypt. And now this parsha is going to start with Paro wanting to destroy us. Now the question is, we could have started from PASUK 7. A new king came and wanted to destroy the Jews. But here's the question. Why would he want to destroy the Jews if they assimilated? How do we know they didn't assimilate? Because this pasuk says so. Ve'ele Shemos B'nai Yisrael. These are the names that they had. And they still had them. There were lots of Reubens and Shimons and Levis. And that's why they were still in Egypt. So rule number one, to survive the exile, have a nice Jewish or Yiddish name that is so unusual, the non-Jews are going to say, what kind of cuckoo name is that? You know, can you imagine somebody who's named, I don't know, what are these like real modern names now? There's some like, what? Daphne. Think Daphne would marry a Shloimi? Huh? What do you think? Or what's a really fancy English name?
Henry.
Well, who's the guy who just got elected for senator? What was his name?
Henry.
Not Henry. Okay, Henry. Would Henry marry Sprinza? No. Anyway, so keep your Jewish name. Now, wait a minute. What about Joseph? Didn't Paro give Joseph a name? He called him Tzofnas Paneach. That was an Egyptian name. But he always remained Joseph. It says, Joseph being already in Egypt. Joseph died. Maybe when he had to go to work, they called him Tzofnas Paneach for political reasons, but he always looked at himself as Yosef. And that's the Ve'ele. Because we just ended off the last Parsha that Joseph was there and he died as Yosef. So guess what? And all his brothers also kept their Hebrew names. That's rule number one to survive the exile. Keep your real Jewish identity. I'll tell you, most Jews who have intermarried, I don't think you find in the wedding invitations, we are proud to announce the marriage of our son, Shlomi Schwartz, to Daphne Vanderbilt. I think it would be something like, I don't know, what's an S name in English?
Stephen.
What?
Scott.
Scott Schwartz. Ah, that's a nice Goyish name, Scott. I mean, next time look at the intermarriage column. It's not Shlomi. It's not Cyril. It's not Yossi. So if you keep that Hebrew name, that already kind of shows you're distinct. There's a lot more to that, but I'm going to have to move on to the second. So that's critical. Ve'ele Shmos B'nai Yisrael. That's number one. Number two, here's the problem here. Habayim, coming to Egypt. They came. What's this coming? So the second secret is, what is coming? What's the different connotations between saying I'm coming to Egypt or I came to Egypt? What's the different connotation?
They're not sojourning there. They don't realize it's their last place. When you come to settle. Coming means that this might just be a stopover.
Okay, let me say it louder for the Zoomers. That's excellent. Coming means I'm like passing through. I'm coming. K means I'm there and I'm there. Stuck. Coming means we're in a state of flux. They know that they're strangers in the land that doesn't belong to them. We're always still in the process of just coming here. Or as they used to say, the people who the people from Europe, they called them greenhorns. Greenhorns. We're always going to be greenhorns. And we're proud that we're greenhorns. We don't want to assimilate into the culture. We're always haboyim. We're just now coming to Egypt, even if it was 110 years later. So that's the second secret to surviving the exile. And Steve, you got the third one. What's the third one, Steve?
With Yaakov.
No, you said it before.
Family name.
The family name.
The family.
That's the third line. I thought.
Ish ubeso, a man and his family. You have to make it part of the family. Those are the three critical points. And then we told all the brothers, but then they died. But there were a lot of them, and they didn't assimilate. And that's why Paro says, we got to get rid of them. They're a threat. Now, had they not had this PASUK, they would have been Mahmouds and Scots. And they, wouldn't have any family structure because they're all getting divorced and being gay and all these other Mishigasim. And if they thought they're permanent residents there, they would have assimilated and probably would have no problems. Why is the Parsha in the book called Shemos? Because that's the key to survival. That's the key to survival. The Shemos. You got that?
Yeah.
That's really good. That's really good. That's the key to Jewish survival. And that's why the book is called the Sefer, the Book of Exile and Redemption. If you want to be redeemed, you got to be able to keep your name. So we know those who did not keep their names, they were out of the game. Now, and that's why they're like stars. That's why they're so precious to Hashem. A star always keeps its name. Oh, Sharon's hand is up. He knows how to use the hand. Sharon, please unmute and ask your question. Yeah, unmute.
Okay, that raising of hand was earlier, before.
Oh, I'm sorry. What did you want to say before? I feel
No,
bad.
I just wanted to say that in the previous parasha, in the Bereshit, it says that Jacob passes away and he's a son, and the other 7, all his kids are the stars, and they are coming, like they are coming to Mitzrayim, and they are the stars who will be coming and who will be giving the shadow and light to the Am Israel.
Yes, that's true. Good. Go ahead. Excellent. Excellent. Okay, now 2 more things I want to talk about. The rabbis tell us there's certain things that are hinted to. There is a very interesting halacha. A Jewish person, a man specifically, should always be studying Shnayim Mikra ve'echad Targum. Any of you hear about that?
Yeah.
Shnayim is what? 2.
2 times you have to read
Mikra is the text.
text. And
Ve'echad and 1 Targum,
translation.
the Aramaic translation.
Oh, that's what I've been doing this. Okay, yeah.
Okay? Every week, you're supposed to read the Parsha twice. And one time, you say it in the Aramaic translation.
That's why we're doing that.
Okay. Now, which Aramaic translation? It's usually the Targum of our good friend Uncle Lewis.
Yeah, Uncle Lewis. I have
Unkelus.
Uncle Lewis.
Unkelus lived outside of Eretz Yisrael in Bavel, where the majority of Jews did not speak Hebrew. They spoke the language of the land, which was the Targum. So obviously he had to translate the Torah into the Targum, right? But really, if you understand Lashon HaKodesh, you wouldn't need Targum, would you? So let's think about this. If since this is the book of how to survive the Gullus, so therefore, let's think about over here. So what do you have to do? Well, on the one hand, you got to explain things in the language that people understand. But you also got to go back to the original text. Why don't we just, why didn't our scroll just make an English translation and forget about the Hebrew? Because then we'll forget our language. Having a Jewish name without a Jewish language doesn't help much. Okay, you're in the exile. You got to know, maybe you're born in the exile. Maybe the foreign language is your first language. Okay. So I got to understand, but I got to always come back to the Hebrew language. Now look at this interesting Roshei Tevos. The name of the book is Shemos. Stands for Shin, Shnayim, Mem, Mikra, Vav, Ve'echad, Targum. That's in Shemos. Now, why of all places is it hinted here? Because that's how you survive the exile. That's how you survive the exile. How? By staying true to learning the Torah. Oh, I can't learn Torah. I don't know Hebrew. Well, then learn the Targum. But don't be satisfied with the Targum. You always got to go back to the Hebrew to connect to those ideals. So therefore, if you want to stay afloat in Golus, you better stay in touch with Shemos, Shnayim Mikra ve'echad Targum. And really the Vav, Aleph, Lamed, Hey, the rabbi says, stands for something else. Vav is Vechayav, Aleph, Adam, Lamed, Likros, Hey, HaParsha, again, Vechayav, Adam, Likrot, HaParsha, Shnayim, Mikra, oh man, I messed that one up. Ve'echad Targum. I got to find the undo button. Good luck finding the undo button when you got all these things over here. Well, anyway, I don't know. Maybe I could do this. Hang on. Let's just take. Oh, well, whatever. We'll play with it later. Anyway, so that's a person. So that's no coincidence. It's been there.
That's mind blowing.
Now, there's one last interesting thing. We answered everything here except one thing. What's this word, ba'u? Came, but what's that doing over here? What's that doing over here?
It's hinting that some people assimilated.
Ah, say that a little louder, please.
It means that some people assimilated.
It's hinting to the fact that maybe some people assimilated. These are the sons of Israel, the names of the sons of Israel. Now, remember, by the way, before I forget, that's why you have to have the word Shemos. If it just says, and these are the sons of Israel, but the key was the Shemos. And the key was the Vav to connect us back to why they're still here. When we left them at the end of Bereshit, there was a lot of us. But maybe when we turn the new book, they're gone. No, the Vav means there's still a lot of them. Still a lot of them. Right? And why? Because Eila Shemos, because of their names. There's Bnei Yisrael. And Haboim, they felt they were just passing through. And they always were with Yaakov. Even though Yaakov had died, they wanted to remain with the traditions. You could say it as a fourth point. They always felt they were with Yaakov, even though Yaakov was not alive. Ishu Beis Oman, his family. But there's also another hint. The other hint was that although this is the optimal way, but could be after a while, everybody has his own family, and then they think they were oh yeah, we've already arrived. And when the Jew thinks he arrives, that's when he can start getting into trouble. And that's what the Torah is hinting to as well. And that's when Paro begins to show his anti-Semitic views on things. Okay? So so this is really the introduction. That's what the first PASUK of the entire book should say it all. And it does. It says, how are the Jew going to survive the exile to the point that it'll be hanging around till there'll be the what do you call it? The salvation. This is the key to surviving the Golus. Okay. Comments or questions? Anybody want to add something?
Rabbi, I just need you to repeat the Ve'ele. All the Vav stands for what?
Okay,
I want to
here.
write it down.
It's right over here.
No, not this.
Vechayav,
Oh, Vechayav.
Vav, Adam, a
Vechayav.
person, Likros, to read, HaParsha, the Parsha, Shnayim Mikra, 2 times the text, Vecha Targum, and then what's afterwards? Kol B'nai Yisrael. All Jews, not just smart Jews. Every Jew is supposed to be doing this. And we know the rabbis say that those people who do this, it's a great segula, it's a great charm for longevity of life. Longevity of life. But that's, this idea of knowing you're passing through, I think there's I heard an interesting story. There was a rabbi once who was in New York and somebody gave him a ride. And he was a Sephardic Jew. And he was giving the rabbi a ride. And by his outward appearances, he didn't look so religious. He didn't have a hat, he didn't have a beard, he didn't have payas. So the Sephardic Jew, I guess the taxi driver, says, I can't bring myself to buy a house in Brooklyn. He said he had a family, a minivan, but he lived in an apartment. He said if he would buy a house, he would be making a statement that he intended to put down his roots and remain in Golus. And he didn't want to do that. So that was interesting. I'm not saying you have to sell your houses. But the point is, let's say if you rent a car let's say, my son Menachem, he's really into renting cars. He's in Lakewood, and every month he gets to come in to Toronto. So they rent cars. So, he's at that age, 20, 21, where that's the thing, man. So you want to like rent a $60,000 car, because he knows he's not going to own one in the near future. But, let's put it this way. If I came up with $60,000 cash to buy a crossover, I'd say, wow, man, I'm something. I bought this car. But if you rent a $60,000 car, it ain't yours and it's going back to the rental vehicle place. That's how you have to look at living in Toronto. You're only, even if legally you own the house, you're just renting. You're just renting. We have to understand that we're not here permanent residents. Even though on my card, it says I'm a permanent resident of Canada, just on that card. But we got to realize that we're a permanent resident of the world to come. And that's where we always feel we're coming through. And if we forget, they remind us. And that's what happened. The Jews forgot, and Paro reminded them. And Paro said, you know what? You think you're citizens? You're going to be slaves. It is very fascinating that on this day, when the United States is making the turn to become communist, is the day we're reading about how a new king came. You saw the thing I showed all you guys, right? Let me find it fast. Find it fast. Here it is. No, this isn't it. That's a different one. Here it is. Let's see if we can share the screen. They can see it. You guys can't see it. It says, for you guys who can't see it, it says, that's a picture of Joe Biden. And in Hebrew, Vayakam Melech Hadash, a new king came. And the next words in the Torah says, who did not know Joseph, but they're put by him, a new king came, who did not know.
Know anything. He doesn't know anything.
Who did not know. He just doesn't know anything. So on this day, when he got certified, this is the Parsha. Everything goes by the Parsha. A new king came who does not know. And unfortunately, it looks like they're going to remind us that we're not permanent residents in North America. And Hashem should help us, just like he took us out of Egypt, he'll take us out of this terrible exile. Amen.
Amen.
Okay. Excellent, guys. Tremendous. Another tremendous audience participation.